Hello friends, neighbors, Johnny Week's neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook. Happy Saturday. Today I want to talk to you about rye. Now I've actually talked to you about both these before, but I haven't gone through an actual review of Knob Creek Cask Strength Rye. So that's going to be the focus. I am going to compare it to this 291 Colorado Rye. Just for some extra conversation, but I'm going to focus on this Knob Creek Cask Strength Rye. So if you have this one, pour it. And if you don't have it, maybe if you have any cask strength rye wine, you pour a little dram. And when you come back, we'll talk Knob Creek cask strength rye, and then I'll also compare it to this 291 Colorado Rye. See you in a minute. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. This particular release, this cask strength rye, was released in 2018. Now, I bought it a year ago because I waited until it was finally an okay price. It came out really not connected to the kind of pricing I'm used to getting with Knob Creek products. This eventually came down to a place where I could buy it, and it is released at, I think, 59 point something %, and it is really their cask strength rye. My understanding of Knob Creek, and this would be true, is it is a barely legal rye. I don't have any clear evidence of what it is, but my understanding is it's pretty much a 51% or just enough rye to be considered a rye, because you have to be 51% America. It's got some nice, bling on here. It's got a little copper button that says released in 2018. It was barreled in 2009. There it is, 119.6 proof. It looks nice and presents well. But when it came out, boy, it was just too expensive. I had samples, people shared it with me, but I couldn't bring a bottle home. And then about a year ago, I did. So now I've had it so I can share my thoughts on this Knob Creek cask strength. The nose is a nice interplay between sweet sugars, brown sugars, vanilla, and a little bit of spice. Yes, there's heat from, there's ethanol alcohol. It's almost 60%. But the interplay here for me is there's a little bit of rye spice, a little bit of lemongrass, and a fair amount of cooked brown sugars, a little sweet vanilla. Almost a bit of smokiness in there, but mostly it's light on the rye, heavier on the sweet brown sugars, but a nice enough nose to pull you in. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. It's bold. As I said, pretty strong proof. And some of the, nice bright cinnamons, a little bit of ginger, some cracked pepper does come up pretty quick. Part of that is alcohol strength. It's got some hug going on. But it continues to be wrapped up in that brown sugar, cooked sugar that I was going at the front. But the early finish is nicely drying. Drying, like I find ryes tend to dry up my palate a bit at the end, which some might not enjoy. But for me, I like that drying nature. It's got that warm hug. Now it's oak, but my palate goes a little bit dry and feels like you need another sip. Second sip now actually builds up a bit more spices. I'm going to try it with a drop of water here. It is more peppery and more spicy coming back to it. So the first sip actually was, I wouldn't say overly coating, but it was for 60% almost, fairly relaxed in the palate, but that's not the case now. The second sip actually really started to make my palate a little more aware of the alcohol. Still got that nice drying ginger cinnamon note on the end. Still got some decent oak on the end, and the up front brings in some brown sugars. So my thoughts on this Knob Creek Rye is I do enjoy it. I'm glad I didn't pay the kind of prices that it sat on the shelves for a few years at. They were really, really high. For me though, I'd recommend this if it's kicking around, some older stock on shelves near you, because it has nice rich flavors, some decent layers, lots of, vanilla sugar, but also some rye spice, good hug. And I think it would have that appeal from people who like high rye bourbons, or people who like ryes but aren't full grass barky ryes, because that's not this, except for that its proof is that high. If you can get it for the kind of pricing I do, like it's clearly a deep sale, then it sits 4 stars. It's a good rye. If it's still on the shelves at what they came out with, I just don't recommend getting it. Quick comparison here with Colorado 291 small batch rye. It's not nearly as strong percent-wise. I think it's more around 50 instead of 59. And it's also, instead of 9 years old, this is pretty young. I've read it's possibly 2 years old. I thought it was 3, but it's certainly not very old. But look at all the bling this has on there. I mean, look at all of the awards and stickers. And I have reviewed this with you guys. What's interesting about this is it is finished with aspen staves. So I guess they put the staves like inserts in. So that is something quite unique to them. My reading, I thought they had on their website, but when I went there, I couldn't find it. But other places did say this is like a 69% malted rye and 31% corn. So that would put it likely higher rye than this, and also that it's malted rye. Let's give it nose and taste. So I actually did choose it for this reason. I haven't had a sip in a long time, but I knew it was going to be quite different. This plays toward high rye bourbon. This is unabashedly rye, and the aspen staves, I think, make it even more green. So this is bright and lime citrus or pine. Yeah, I've said it before, lemongrass is a common note I get with rye bread. This has a lot more rye going on in it, but it's also a lot greener. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. It's very tasty. Lots of flavors, a little more green apple. I've already said some almost pine or peppermint or eucalyptus. The spices, it's funny because I thought in my mind it was spicier, because in my mind I knew it really spoke rye, but this right now has a little more spicy cinnamons with the brown sugars, whereas this has just spicy cracked peppers with the lemon or lime, green apple kind of note. So quite a contrast, but now I don't know if I really say spicier. Better try another sip. It is very full flavored. I can see why it won like really so many awards. But anytime I've talked to other people about it, or with you as I try to recommend or give a sense like what I like that whiskey, it's very green. It's very young rye. It feels like 100% rye, because those aspen staves for me, I'm thinking that's why, really pushes it into that full green grass, dry, light hay, alfalfa, whatever, all of that stuff. And I'm overplaying it. It's not nearly all of that. But in contrast to something that's like high rye bourbon, a lot more corn and butter going on, whereas this is drier, cleaner, but definitely grassier. If you like that, this is a quality dram. It's really quite excellent, and certainly, star value, very hard for me not to give this, maybe even a bit more, 4 and a little bit more than that. 4 1/4, I guess, is a little bit more than that. I try not to go finer grain than that. But if I was pouring for people, I would suspect that most people, unless they are already predisposed to pretty much liking young green ryes, are going to end up liking this one more. This would probably have broader appeal. Thanks for joining me down here. I haven't shot a rye in a little while. I was like, oh, I'm doing a lot of scotch, so I thought could be a good opportunity to shoot something. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got thoughts, either the 291 or this, is this still available in your market? Is it finally in a good price? Why don't you let me know? Hope you guys have a great weekend. It's a long weekend up here in Canada. So if you're in Canada, I do hope you've got plans for the long weekend, even if it's just to put your feet up, watch some shows, or do something relaxing, or to hang out with family. It's pretty cool. Thanks for joining me. You take care.